Somebody has asked if Dustin would briefly go back over the directions for that. Their technology failed.
Oh, no problem. Sure. So the way that you're going to make this drink is you're going to take whatever you're going to be using for stirring. Then you're going to add ice to it. You're going to add, I'm going to reach down here for a second. 2 ounces of gin. I recommended a digger that has certain measurements on it, so you would just get 2 ounces from here. Then you would get 1 ounce of your dry vermouth, 2 dashes of orange bitters. You will give it a stir until you think it's cold enough, and generally you can see that when the outside of your container is starting to form frost on it, or you can go for 10, 5 seconds, whatever you think is appropriate. After that, you're going to strain it into your glass of choice. I did a chilled cocktail glass, which I find is a perfect pairing for a martini. Then once you've poured it out, grab your peeler. You get a nice peel of lemon. And then over the top of the cocktail glass, you squeeze the peel to get some of the oils into the glass or into the drink.
So it doesn't need to sit, it's ready to drink.
It is ready to drink right away. And martinis are definitely one of those kind of drinks where I recommend you drink it about as fast as possible, because this is going to continue to warm up. And me, myself, I'm fine with a martini that's warmed up a little bit, but some people tend to be a little bit more adverse to those flavors. And that's also why the classic V-shaped martini glass is a thing. Those were invented so that you tend to drink it faster. It's a little harder to keep that in the glass.
Oh, now I know. It's interesting. I want to make sure if anybody has a question, we'll get to them. But am I correct in hearing or remembering or seeing that now this is the classic,
yes,
martini, but nowadays they come flavored, with color, they come with different things too, or am I confusing this with something else?
They definitely do. There's been a lot of variations on it. Over time, it's been shifted to have less vermouth in it. The original martini would have been equal parts gin and vermouth. Over time, it became vogue or popular to do vodka instead of gin, because I don't remember what period in US history, but vodka became very popular over any other spirit, including rum, whiskey, brandy. Vodka became the big main thing. And a lot of things that previously included gin was shifted over to vodka.
So if I'm going out, I'm either at a restaurant, I'm at a bar or whatever I am, and I want to order this drink, I'm simply going to say, I like a martini.
I would recommend you see if they have that on their menu first, because a lot of them, unless they have it on their menu, they don't tend to sell a lot of martinis. So they might have had that bottle of vermouth for a while.
Oh.
And because it is a wine, it might be rancid or spoiled at that point.
And here are dirty martinis as well. What should you know about that?
So a dirty martini is just going to be a martini that has an olive and some olive brine in it. And depending on the vermouth you use, depending on the gin, that could actually be a wonderful garnish to add to this. But you would need a gin that tends to lean a little bit more on the savory side already, and a vermouth that pairs well with it.
And does that olive add something, a different taste than what we're tasting tonight with this?
Yes, indeed.
What would I expect from that?
So the salt from it is going to add a little bit of a vibrant pop to it. It tends to do that across cocktails in general, but there's also going to be a lot of savoriness that the olive is going to be adding to the drink. So it tends, whereas this is sort of on the lighter, brighter side,
yeah.
I want you to think of something being a little bit heartier while still being in the same flavor profile.
So I see you have a lemon, but you have limes, there's oranges. You wouldn't use anything else like that other than a lime for something like this?
So I could do an orange peel, I could do a lemon peel, I could use different bitters. This is simply my recipe for a martini. There's going to be variations on the recipe. And it's also why I would say that if you see a bar has their own personal recipe for like a gin martini or something like that, go ahead, see if you like this drink, see if it's see what you think of it.
Okay. Well, I see Carol. Carol says she loves it, so that's a good sign. I don't see any other questions up here.
Oh, I
See,
do.
go ahead.
Oh, I do remember one time.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think the first time I ever went out on my 21st birthday, I wanted to try a gin martini. You know those very big martini glasses? What I got was a cold glass of, I got a Winston Churchill style martini. It was filled to the brim with nothing but chilled gin and a little bit of vermouth in just a massive glass. That thing was not finished.
I was gonna say, and you remember it, so you remember a part of it, right?
Yes, indeed.
All right, all right. Well, Dustin, are we ready to move on to the next one?
That we can.
All right, you Salukis, you're in for a treat on this one.
All right, so the next cocktail that we're doing is we are going to be doing something I'm calling the Saluki Sunset. Now, I'm guaranteeing every single person here in the panel that's attending has probably heard of a tequila sunrise. Well, a little known fact is the tequila sunrise is actually a variation of another cocktail also called the tequila sunrise. The modern tequila sunrise was popularized in, I think it was 1972, when I'm going to take a quick look here. It was Rolling Stones who went to a bar in California called the Trident Bar. And when they went there, the bartender recommended to Mick Jagger a tequila sunrise made with grenadine and orange juice. And from there, every single time that they went to a bar on the rest of their tour, they ordered that exact same thing. And quickly, it became a very popular, very well-known version of it.
One more thing that we can thank the Rolling Stones for, right?
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Now, the original one didn't use orange juice at all. It didn't use grenadine. It used carbonated water or soda water and creme de cassis, which is a blackcurrant liqueur. Now, I like to call this version a tequila sunset since no one's heard of this original version, and why not call it something slightly different? That way people don't get confused by what you're serving them.
Okay, so tell them what we're making now then.
So we are making what I'm calling the Saluki Sunsets.
All right.
I'm going to be substituting one of the ingredients, changing it up a little bit, and I'm going to be using a black cherry syrup. Now, I'm using a pre-made one. Filthy is a good brand. I have I have a recipe for a homemade black cherry syrup that was included with the ingredients list.
Right.
I wasn't able to find any black cherries locally, so I decided to go with this, and this is an absolutely delicious one. If you have this, or if you have a homemade one, this drink is going to turn out fantastic either way. I did base this one being a little bit more on the approachable side. I wanted to go with a classic cocktail, something nice, refreshing, something that anyone can dig into and go, oh, that's just nice. Whereas a martini might be a little bit more controversial. Some people who like a lighter drink might not like a martini since it's very alcohol forward. I think this is something that can be loved by everyone. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab enough ice from my shaker. Should be enough. Then for one cocktail, I'm going to do 1.5 ounces of tequila.
Brand on tequila?
I'm going with Corazon just because it's a relatively affordable tequila and it's pretty good.
So you don't have to get fancy with it.
You really don't, but I recommend sort of finding whichever one you prefer. You can go with, like, say, if we were doing the martini, you can go with whatever gin you prefer, whatever vermouth. One sort of motto I have with cocktails is you get out what you put in. So if you put in very inexpensive, not that good ingredients, you're not going to get out that good of a cocktail.
So the ingredients do make a difference.
That they do.
Is that something you can study up on based on, is it how they're made? Does that have a factor in that, or is it?
It's a little hard to say. You kind of just have to talk with people, figure out what's good quality, try a little bit yourself to see what you like. And over time, you're going to get a little bit of a sense of, oh, I like this tequila, I like this gin, I like this bourbon, brandy. You can go on and on and on.
So if you do, some people either love or hate tequila, but you have to love or hate tequila. If you don't like tequila, is there still a possibility that you're gonna like this drink?
Well, frankly, I don't know. If I were able to try this with more people who had a strong opinion on tequila one way or another, I'd be able to say for sure. I think the main flavor that people are going to get out of this drink is a black cherry.
Okay, so I think we have a good sampling in the room.
Standing next to a guy.
Yeah, I'm not a big tequila fan at all. Caleb, I think you tolerate it, right?
Okay.
You're okay with it, so you're gonna get two opinions after the fact.
Well, that's fantastic.
There you go.
So I did put ice in, and yes, it is 3/4 of an ounce of black cherry syrup per drink. I'm sorry if I misspoke. It is also a 1/2 ounce of lime juice per drink as well.
And how much black cherry is?
It's 3/4 of an ounce of black cherry, yes.
And Marcy's talking about vodka. Is there a difference here with this?
I've never heard of a tequila sunrise made with vodka. I mean, I guess in that case, it would be a vodka sunrise. So at this point, I'm just shaking it so I can get everything incorporated. One of the parts about syrups and lime juice and cocktails is you kind of do need to shake it to get everything incorporated and mixing well together. I'm going to add some ice into the glasses. I'm gonna grab my strainer.
So what are we straining?
So we're just straining out large portions of the ice.
Of the ice, okay.
Yes, indeed. Also, a strainer is a little helpful if you over pour on one drink in particular. But not helpful if you decide to pour it all down the side.
That's okay. Caleb gets the big one.
That's why we bought the rack. That's.
The one thing that the ice is doing besides keeping it diluted, which would be nice on a hot day, is it's also helping to extend the drink somewhat. As such, I'm going to add some more ice to this so I can top it off. I'm gonna do the same to the other. From here, I just add some soda water. This is one of those garnishes where it's not necessarily needed, but it does provide a little bit of a nice additional smell to it. So while you're drinking it, you're also getting a nice little pop of lime in addition to all the other smells that you're getting. And from here, if you had a straw, you could add it. You don't necessarily need to. I did bring some straws with me.
So can I ask a question before? So there's obviously different colors and layers of this. This isn't something I'm going to stir, right? I'm
You
going
can
to.
if you want. It sort of depends on how much of a cherry flavor you want.
Is this a sip from the top or sip from the straw?
Either way, you're gonna get more flavor if you do it from the straw.
I'm going to try it. We'll try it both ways.
Oh, you want me to do the straw?
Number one, a lot of soda water. And we're doing the straw.
Yeah, sip from the top, you really, you lose a lot. So you got to sip the,
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely want to use the straw.
all soda water.
If you're not using a straw, all I would recommend doing is giving it a quick stir. That way you can get everything sort of incorporated with each other and mixed together. So you should have about a similar flavor throughout everything.
Okay.
The ingredients are 1.5 ounces of tequila, 3/4 of an ounce of black cherry syrup, a 1/2 ounce of lime juice, and then you just shake that, pour it over ice in a tall glass, then you top it off with soda water, which you can use club soda, you can use seltzer water, carbonated water, it's all basically the same thing.
Okay, so a lot of what you do and what you serve, I mean, it's, you're sensing it from your eyes, you're smelling it. But I mean, there is some, when you originally set this down, there were like 3 layers there. It was very pretty,
Yes,
very
indeed.
colorful. Are most drinks like this and other drinks, are they meant to be, once it gets to me, are they meant to be stirred? Or are there drinks typically they're meant to just have at it right from the start?
I would say a little bit of both. It's largely dealer's choice.
Okay.
Because if you were to drink this with a straw and you didn't stir it, you would get a vibrant bit of flavor that as you continue drinking it, it's going to continue to mix more, and it'll allow you to get a sort of a changing evolution of drink over time. Though if you did stir it, you're just going to have this nice consistent drink throughout.
So we talked about the martini, that this was one that is more suitable to drink a little quicker
Yes, indeed.
because of the taste. How about this one? Same thing, or is this a sip?
As fast as you want, as fast or as slow as you want.
No, the ice melts, it's going to have an impact on the overall.
Yes,
drink,
indeed.
right? So, but again, it doesn't matter about fast or slow.
It's one of those drinks where realistically, just sit back, enjoy it. It's one of those kind of things where maybe pair it with whatever you want. Hot summer day, maybe poolside.
Yeah, if you're sitting poolside, maybe a little faster. In here, I think you're good to
Okay, well,
pace yourself.
well, it's better than what I was expecting. I'm not a tequila fan. I don't get a great sensation of the tequila. I taste it. I'm tasting some of the black cherry. I think for me, it helps balance that taste.
Yes, indeed.
But then when you said this, the smell of the lime actually is, for me, I think is impacting the overall taste. Is that, am I right? Or?
No, that's entirely the point of adding a little lime wheel there. Garnish is still. Then I would say just add less ice to it. That's part of the reason why I add so much ice. Usually back at the house, I use cubed ice. So you sort of just need to change how much ice you use it. And then again, if you do want a more concentrated drink, you can add more ice. If you want it to be more dilute, you can add less. You're just affecting how much soda water you're going to be adding overall to top it off.
So tell me what Todd's Collins glass, what's the Collins glass?
So
Compared to this.
This is sort of a tall but fairly standard shape. The difference of a Collins glass is it's about a similar height, but it's going to be skinnier and narrower.
Oh, okay.
Right, I think we can open it up to any in-person questions if you have it now. Remember to unmute yourself before you do try to ask anything, but we'll open the floor for any follow-up questions.
I don't hear any.
Very studious crowd.
I know, well, maybe they're busy. They're making and drinking, so.
Hopefully I've been fairly clear with my ingredients. I think I've misspoke once during this, but.
No, but I think what we're learning is helpful to go back over. So I
Yes.
think that makes sense. So,
James, Ben, you have a question?
yeah.
Yes. Have you ever tried this with mezcal as opposed to tequila?
Ooh, I do have some of that back at the apartment, but I haven't thought of trying that yet. I want to create a base version that was a little bit of an every person's drink, where even if you're not too big of a tequila fan, you can sort of be happy if this was handed to you and you wouldn't necessarily want to hand it back right away, or something where maybe someone who doesn't like drinks or strong drinks too much can sort of enjoy this as well.
So
Hopefully I've achieved that.
if we took James' suggestion, how would that change this drink?
So what that's going to do is it's going to add a little bit more of an abrasive, smoky flavor to it.
Okay.
Which personally, I'm someone who loves peated scotch. I love mezcal. this would be sort of the way I might take a riff or a variation off that. And honestly, I think it would be a very tasty drink.
James, you have a
Is there,
follow-up?
yeah, is there any difference between using white or gold tequila?
So I'm gonna grab my tequila real quick. One sort of difference about white and gold tequila is how long they're aged. And the biggest difference is white or Blanco tequilas are notable for their vibrancy. You're using them to sort of add a pop of just green, earthy flavors to whatever drink you're making. A gold or an añejo tequila is going to have more milder flavors, more subtle and complex flavors, but that might be overpowered a little bit by the rest of the components of the drink.
Thank you.
Hopefully that clears it up.
Can I ask a follow-up to James' question? So I think maybe similar to the same lines. What's this, if I had a bottle of tequila or a bottle of vodka or a bottle of gin that's has gone from house to house to house over my lifetime's move over the last 20 years, is that still good? Or
So distilled spirits, it's not impossible to make them go bad. Maybe if you had a tequila that had, say, maybe this much left, where there's only a tiny amount, it is still alcohol. It's going to evaporate. It's going to become weaker over time. But alcohol itself is a preservative. And since this is vastly just alcohol, it's going to be good basically no matter what you do to it. If you have it in the sun and you have something weird in the bottle with it, like if you have a foam covering, like some pints have screw tops with little foam coverings on it, that might leach into the tequila. But if you're using something that has a cork on it, that shouldn't be a big issue. The only possible issue is a natural cork might eventually snap off. And then you might need to use something like a wine opener to get that out. I did see a couple of questions there I'm going to address real quick. Sure. A vodka martini should use the same amount of ingredients. Just know that if you're using or making a vodka martini with my recipe, the flavors you're mostly going to be getting are the flavors of the vermouth, the bitters, and the lemon peel. And the other one is dark tequila or añejo tequila. I would sort of agree that it's largely better for sipping on its own, just because mixed in a drink, you might be missing out on some of the subtler flavors. But if you do prefer doing a añejo or a gold tequila in a drink, I say go for it. A reposado tequilas, which are between Blanco and añejo tequilas, or between silver and gold tequilas, are famously sort of used for cocktails all over the place because it is sort of a middle ground of the bright, vibrant flavors of a Blanco tequila and the sort of more subtle, woodier, more vanilla-focused flavors that are in añejos.
So I'm looking at Shane's question just real quick, and I know we got to keep moving, but vodka. In the freezer cold versus not in the freezer cold, or
Either's
does
fine.
it make a difference? Doesn't make a difference.
Shouldn't make too much of a difference. I know that in some other things, like I've heard rumors of it affecting whiskeys or gins in unique ways, but nothing too crazy. If you stick something that's, say, tequila in the freezer, it's not going to have too much of a difference. There might be a slight difference, but by the time you're adding it to a mixed drink, it should be about the same.
All right. It's 1:45, so we're going to move on to our final drink of the night.
Oh, the final drink.
Uh-oh.
Would you mind saying that on the table?
Yep. Got it.
So before I say the name of this final drink, I want to sort of give a little lead up to this. I'm going to give the history of this. This drink was originally invented in Egypt in the Shepherd's Bar by a ex-chemist named Joe Schloem, who was a bartender there. During the time, it was World War II, and soldiers who were fighting the war, who came from England, would occasionally take their free time over there in Cairo, Egypt. And one day, a particularly hungover soldier came to the bar, and Joe Schloem was asked to make a hangover cure for this poor, suffering bastard. And as such, this drink, although somewhat rare, now persists within the realms and the halls of tiki. And honestly, I think if you've ever tried any sort of Moscow Mule, this is a drink you want to try at least once. This is a drink that uses gin. It uses either brandy or bourbon. It's a little bit dealer's choice, but being one of the few drinks that has an actual historical origin that we can say for sure this is probably where it came from, it seems that brandy was the initial choice for this. So that's what I'm going with tonight.
So as you were telling the story, you talked about the person, but you want to repeat the actual name of the drink?
Sure thing. So the name of the drink itself is the Suffering Bastard.
Okay.
And it's a little bit of a fun name for a very tasty drink. And considering that here at SIU, we are in Little Egypt, I figured why not go with a drink actually made over in Egypt? Along for the drink though, we will also need some ginger beer. And we'll need some mint for the garnish. It's one of those kind of things where it's hair of the dog, so it probably doesn't work, but you know what, it was World War II and they were coming off the battlefield, so who really cares?
It basically pulls you up from purgatory back into the drunk state.
Yep,
Is that-
hit on the nose there.
Okay.
So we are going to use an ounce of gin. And we're going to use an ounce of brandy.
Anybody's wondering, I'm spending the night here tonight. How about you, Caleb?
I'm good.
You're good? All right.
Then we are going to use a 1/4 ounce of a rich demerara syrup. There should have been instructions on how to make it within the ingredients list. Then again, you can always buy it online. It should also be another very delicious syrup as well. Demerara syrup is just a syrup made with demerara sugar, which is a less refined sugar. Next, we need a couple dashes of Angostura bitters wherever I hit those. I'll be a little careful with these. If you ever spill Angostura bitters while you are making a cocktail, clean it up right away. They will stain everything and anything. And then I think the last thing I need is just some lime juice. And we are just going to use 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice.
Okay.
Now, I do really recommend fresh lime juice because one thing about lime juice is that it degrades over time. And remember when I add the little lime wheel to the drink, all those oils and everything?
Right.
Those themselves don't even last a day.
Oh,
So if you're, say, doing a large party, you can more than easily get yourself a lot of fresh lime juice and use it over the course of the party. But I wouldn't recommend squeezing a bunch of limes and saving that for the week, say. It's why I always have one of these with me. It's also why lime cordial was invented, because since limes do lose both their flavor and their nutritional value over time, people need to find a way to sort of preserve that. And one of the first ways was actually lime cordial, which gimlets were just mixtures of gin and lime cordial.
so we see somebody said not a real fan of brandy or ginger beer. I agree. But they follow up by saying, I am Saluki. Right there with you.
So once this hits our palates, what are we expecting? What are we gonna? Initially, and then what are we gonna have us after?
This is a little bit of a complicated drink, but it does lend itself to a single flavor. I won't be able to say for sure, but this is one of those things where you're gonna have a feeling right away of what it tastes like. And from here, you just add about the same parts of ginger beer. And then I'm probably gonna grab the other ice here, so I grab more ice and water. Add about as much ice as the glass will take for it, without trying to splash everywhere.
Yes, I am looking at these glasses. We've used 3 different types of glasses for each drink. Is there any explanation behind this glass for this particular drink? Does it matter?
Just a short glass, realistically. I just like the color and the shape of these. Now, lastly is a mint garnish. One thing that you'll see bartenders do is they'll take the mint between 2 hands and give it a clap. And the reason you do that is just to get the smell and the flavors of mint out and going as fast as you can.
Wow.
I'm going to give this one to you just because you'll be directly over a table and that's a little overfilled with ice. And you can take this one.
All right, this one's the one that scares me.
It's like a very, really good ginger ale, actually. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting the ginger beer.
Fair enough.
Is that what I'm supposed to be getting, or is my taster off?
No, that's absolutely correct.
Do we need to stir this one? Does it
No,
matter?
basically this drink is already stirred since I poured everything into it before I added ice.
Better than I thought it would be.
You said that ginger beer and brandy wasn't necessarily either in your wheelhouse too much. If I remember correctly.
0, yes.
Yeah, then the drink wouldn't necessarily be something that you'd be too excited about one way or another.
Well, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the video to see my initial reaction when I first tasted it, but it's not bad.
So just because I'm a big fan of ginger beer and I'm already a fan of gin, I'm a fan of the earthy flavors in Angostura bitters or just aromatic bitters. This is a drink that I personally really love. Now, for someone who's more neutral, they're probably still going to enjoy it, but for someone who doesn't enjoy ginger beer from the start, it's probably not going to be in their wheelhouse.
So we see Trisha talks about a Kentucky Mule. You mentioned a Moscow Mule. Just educated me a little bit about this versus what they're talking about.
So I'm going to take a guess, and I'm guessing that a Kentucky Mule is effectively a Moscow Mule, but made with bourbon. Mules are a little
You
bit
got
of a
it.
category for drinks that are ginger beer, generally some amount of lime juice, and a spirit.
Are you right, Trisha?
Yeah, it is definitely right. It's basically my cocktail bar go-to. And I love this. I don't know how you say the name of the syrup, but this syrup I've not had it before. And I
Demerara?
can see I don't know that I've had it. And I'm certainly going to be adding it to a bunch of stuff now because it's real. I made my own with sugar on the stove and it's pretty fabulous.
All
It
right.
could go in a lot of things and make it just a little bit richer and fuller, and I really like it.
Frankly, I love to use Demerara syrup in so many things. If I'm making a daiquiri, I might use that instead of just a regular simple syrup, which is
Oh,
just
really?
sugar and water. If I'm making an old fashioned, I'm either using Demerara sugar or Demerara syrup just because I love the richness it adds. In terms of the ingredients, it's an ounce of gin, an ounce of brandy, a half ounce of lime juice, quarter ounce of Demerara syrup, 2 dashes of aromatic or Angostura bitters. Angostura bitters is one of the more famous brands of aromatic bitters. And then I said both the spirits, I said bitters, I said the syrup, I think I said the lime juice. You shake that with ice, then you pour that into a short glass. You add about an equivalent amount of ginger beer. Then you add some ice to help keep it chill. Lastly, you garnish with some mint.
So again, this drink designed to drink by itself, not something necessarily with food, anything like that.
You can drink however you want. Frankly, most cocktails are those where if you like it a certain way or you like it with a certain thing, go ahead and do it. Like a nice, maybe some cooked tilapia and a martini, that just sounds delightful.
So this has been the one where I can detect the least amount of alcohol. Experience tells me this also makes this the most dangerous
Oh, entirely.
of the drinks.
Let me tell you, the name rings true for multiple different reasons, because if you sit down and you drink like 3 or 4 of those,
You'll become a,
suffering
there
bastard.
you go, all right.
I will stop it right here.
Well, I mean, this has been, I mean, for me, who this isn't in my wheelhouse, very educational. I've learned a lot about some of the tricks of the trade, the relevance of maybe a certain type of spirit over another one. I'm gathering that some of these from some of our comments, there's different spirits you can use. Perhaps they give it a little bit of a different taste, but I imagine it's kind of like drinking wine. It's whatever you like.
It's a little bit what you like. Different categories of spirits are going to have sometimes subtle, sometimes vastly different flavors. And that's why, let's say, I'm trying to think one drink that's a really good example of a difference. There's so many, I just wouldn't be able to list it, but one probably great example is probably the gimlet. Because a gimlet, at least a modern gimlet, is just gin, simple syrup or sugar syrup, lime juice. If you just change the gin to rum, you now have a daiquiri. And those are 2 different flavor profiles. One's going to be very sweet, whereas the other one tends to be brighter, more refreshing flavors.
So we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. We're gonna close out here in just a second, but I do have one question. Maybe it's a question that we've all been wondering about. We go out to dinner. I've seen different names for different drinks, perhaps maybe that you're making, or a variation thereof. So we're out having dinner, and we want to have. We want this drink. I'm not going to say it because my mom's on the line. So, but we have this drink right here. But the bartender doesn't know what that drink is. How do you feel about me telling you how to make my drink? Is that acceptable? So, just kind of give us the rule of thumb there.
I can't say personally. I don't have that much experience in a bar. My experience has been crafting cocktails, helping people find what drinks they want to make, helping people make their own drinks how they want to make it. I've had firsthand experience learning and knowing about the different types of spirits and what goes into each one. When it comes to bars themselves, for maybe the suffering bastard, I would probably go against ordering that because it does require a slightly obscure syrup that they might not have.
Okay.
But for simple drinks, I would say it's more than fine to go to bars. I've never had a poor reaction to just asking for, say, seltzer water with some bitters in it. It's a relatively low alcohol because it's just a couple dashes of bitters. There's not much in it, but it's just nice, refreshing. No, most bartenders aren't going to have an issue if you give them a simple drink that they can make real quick.
Before we close out, Caleb, I don't know if you want to go to the other screen just to see, is there any last comments that anybody might have? We're seeing some of your comments over here on the side. We appreciate the We appreciate everything that you're letting us know. It looks like people have enjoyed this.
I see a comment about using Demer syrup.
Yeah.
Or sugar in a simple syrup. That's basically all this is. This is just Demer, sugar, and water. And it's why in recipes that call for Demer syrup, it just says Demer syrup, because as soon as you use this particular kind of sugar instead of regular sugar, there's a difference in taste. So they just call it Demer syrup.
Gotcha. Don't see anything else. Well, Dustin, I think it's been a good night, a successful night. With the interest that we saw coming. Oh,
That's a very good question. Do I need to put some alcohol in my homemade syrup to preserve it?
okay.
That's a little bit of a tall tale. The amount of alcohol that you generally are going to put into things is going to have less of an effect than, let's say you do a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 parts sugar, 1 part water. That's already going to make the syrup last a long time in the fridge. And the other thing that you can do is just pour some boiling water in. If you're using a glass bottle, just pour some boiling water in there. That'll clear out anything in there. And that syrup's going to last a lot longer than if you just added some alcohol.
And I see other people commenting about it as well. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So 8:01, we said it would last about an hour. I think with the interest that we saw in the signups, we would love to invite Dustin back, and we'll do it again. We'll come up with some other drinks. If you got some ideas of things that you'd like to learn, a little bit about the history, a little bit about how to make them and all that good stuff, please send us a line or some information about what you'd like to see next. But I think we need to do this again. So appreciate your time. Appreciate all of your time. Happy New Year to everybody. And the way I always like to close out is go Dogs. Take care.
Go
Happy
Dogs.
New Year. Bye-bye.